And clause 7 of that agreement. So that memorandum of understanding at clause 7 sets out the areas and manner of cooperation. Do you see that?
Parties partake to cooperation within the means, it's within, yes.
Yes, and then it lists preventing, combating, and suppressing crime, including but not limited to, list them, creation of shared safer cities and towns, development of programs, alignment of strategies, training and capacity building. If you go over leaf at 403, it then addresses at clause 7.2, manner of cooperation. And it says the parties shall cooperate by exchange of information. 721, do you see where I'm reading?
Exchange of information, interest of, yes, yes.
Yes. Searching for wanted suspects and missing persons, sharing of policing technology, training courses. What I'm particularly interested in is from paragraph 7.2.6, which reads, and I quote, cooperation within the framework of this MOU shall take place on the basis of request for assistance from the executive authority or on the initiative of the executive authority which deems such assistance to be of interest to other executive authority. Do you see that?
Yes, yes.
Now, the term executive authority, I think, is defined. Now, that's one that is without definition. We will derive it from the Local Government Municipal Structures Act. At 728, staying at page 403, it says parties shall operate in each other's operating area or jurisdiction only during planned operations and for duration of the operation. In all operations, an operational plan must be submitted prior to the operation within a reasonable time to the Office Sub-Provincial Commissioner for approval.
Yes, yes.
At 729, 7.2.9, it says the executive authority requesting an operation to its area together with SAPS will take the lead to the operation. Now, these clauses speak to the question of jurisdiction and operating in the various jurisdictions by the various municipal police departments. Do you understand that as well?
Very clear.
Yeah. Now, this document prescribes how that cooperation must happen, and it prescribes that any of the police municipal departments will operate in a jurisdiction other than theirs only during planned operations. That's 7.2.8, do you see?
Yes, 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 yes.
And that goes to the question that Commissioner Khumalo asked you.
Yes.
Whether operating outside your jurisdiction, is it strictly during planned operations or even without planned operations? And I think your response was, it doesn't require planned operations.
No, I've said during and sometimes it's unplanned operations. Members go. In fact, I'm agreeing with you that this document talk about the operations, spontaneous operations, the operations where members got information now and go and execute. Sometimes it leads them to outside where the suspect, they apprehend the suspect and everything.
And he gave an example, I think, about whether you can go search for and arrest a suspect in Soweto without JMPD, and you confirmed that you have the authority to do so.
Yes, I've said we even went,
yes,
we are going outside the province.
Yes, and you
that's what I've
said
said.
you go internationally as well.
No, international, I was talking about the exhuming of the previous, yes. It is a different memorandum of understanding than this one.
Okay. Now this would be inconsistent with that answer, but I accept that this was signed in 2025.
Yes.
Because this 2025 version says you may only do so within a planned operation.
No, it is a
Yeah,
chart.
the document, I'm not talking about reality on the ground, I'm talking about what the document is telling us.
I agree with you on this one.
So are you suggesting that prior to the signature of this document, something else permitted you to do it otherwise than as prescribed by this document?
Prior and after, operations are going on, as I'm saying. I don't want to come in, want to impress the commission that we are complying. The next thing, when we get the state said we went in there and arrested the suspect that was running away from our jurisdiction, said we were able to apprehend.
You ran ahead of me, I hadn't posed my question
Oh,
yet.
humble apologies, I apologize.
So if now we know, based on this document, that it can only be a planned operation and it specifies strictly, clause 7.2, the process that must be followed, and that it requires a request for an operation in its area, as we have read. So this document would suggest that no other form of operation outside a planned operation is permissible. Is that your understanding as well?
But operational is a different story. I agree with you. I was part of this. I was part of formation of this document. I participated in this document.
Okay.
But due to, as I've said, that our jurisdictions, our demarcations, you see, you may find yourself in this area thinking that you are in this area. The other operation makes you to be outside of jurisdiction whilst you plan to be in this. You see, it's happening on a daily basis. I don't want to lie. I don't want to impress this commission.
So
Chairperson.
then I must understand it is still happening today, notwithstanding what this MOU prescribes, that it can only be for planned operations. Nonetheless, EMPD still operates outside its jurisdiction.
Chairperson, it's happening. I can't lie.
Okay.
Yes, it's not only in EMPD. You see, it's happening. As I've said, that you drive around to see members stopping executing. Sometimes find that they were driving towards that place where they stay, or they're going to the place of work, and then offense it's happening.
Okay.
There you can't stop and say, I'm waiting for the command and operational plan, where they are able to need assistance. For example, sometimes the chief of transport will call, hey, I've got my members there, they need your assistance, because they can't execute, they can't do that. There, we intervene. But there are those planned ones, you see.
It might be helpful.
For example, for illicit, sorry.
I was saying it might be helpful to look at page 415, where section 64 prescribed the powers, and that whoever prepared that, it specifically says that the powers in 64F may only be executed within the borders.
You are too fast, Commissioner.
Am I too fast? Page 415. I think if we are looking for the
Yes,
for the
yes, yes.
boundaries of the powers.
I got it.
Yes, it says that the powers in 64F of the SEPS Act may only be exercised within the borders of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Council unless, and this is that important part, unless an appropriate agreement has been signed with a neighboring municipality. So that tells us very clearly that in the absence of an agreement, you don't have the legal authority to operate outside Ekurhuleni Metro. You see where I'm reading?
Yes, I think it's what we need to correct. I agree, we need to stick and correct that. And those that, because I'm still on suspension, those that are viewing, we need to engage on that and make sure that we stick on that. We need to agree that there's that limits and it needs to happen.
Just so I don't get lost, what are you suggesting needs to be corrected?
No, I'm saying we need to stick on that. The way Commissioner Baloyi, she's reading it.
Yes.
You see, we need to make sure that we stick on this. You see.
It's not the way
She's
Commissioner
reading
Baloyi is reading it. It's how it's written. It's how it's written.
Yes.
And just so you
the
find your
correct-
bearings, that's a 2001 agreement.
May I read it, Commissioner? I think you were too fast. And I read the last.
You may read it.
Please. Section 64F of the South African Police Service Act 1995 prescribe the powers of metropolitan police officers and state that these powers may only be executed within the borders of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Council unless an appropriate agreement has been signed with a neighboring municipality. To such an agreement have been signed with neighboring municipalities who either already have municipal police service or who are on the verge of establishing such municipal police services. Other agreement with neighboring municipalities will be signed once Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipal Services have been established. Okay. The reason therefore is that the other municipalities are not, let me limit myself to this. I get you. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, as I understand it, you say what is supposed to be corrected is that you must stop operating outside your municipal boundaries because Section 64F doesn't allow you to operate outside.
Yes, Chair, I get you now. Thank you. Thank you for correcting.
Just clarify something for me. Assuming your understanding is correct, if EMPD officers were to go to KZN, as you say, or to Soweto to arrest a suspect and confiscate stolen goods, when you come back to EMPD offices, where do you record that event?
The members are having pocketbooks. Members are having, the units are having OP, but we had a challenge for the past 10 years. They use their own diaries, their own books, they record. But monthly, there's a stats that we're getting in terms of the feedback.
So you say it will only appear in the member's individual diary?
Yes,
So if
pocketbooks.
a member went to Soweto to arrest a suspect, or let's not use an arrest because somebody has to be detained if they are arrested. So if they went to Soweto and they confiscated stolen goods, the only place they would record that and the fact that they've confiscated goods is in the member's own individual diary.
From our side, we can check through that.
Where do they book the goods that they have confiscated?
I would say it depends per operation. Sometimes you book or sometimes you, I can't tell. But they are supposed to go to the police station or book it where it's necessary. For example, if you find the explosive, you can't take them to the police station. You call a relevant team to do that. If you find, for example, animals, it's the issue of SPCA. It differs per operation, per your, let me say per operations because
I
it's
think
broad.
you assisted me halfway through your answer because if I understand you correctly, if they confiscate stolen goods in Soweto, they must take them to the police station.
Yes.
And that must be recorded there.
Yes.
That's all I needed to
Then
clarify.
through our own books, then we'll get it maybe weekly or monthly, that there was this operation that was done. Because you can't be there every day.
Thank
If there's no notebook, because the police officer has lost their notebook, we will never know about it.
I must say that, Chair, because that's one of the challenges that was saving us. For the past 10 years, we didn't have pocket books, OP books. You see, administration was not there, you see.